kind of.
Wait, were their holograms the same as AR?
Yeah, is a hologram AR?
I mean,
you don't have to view it through your phone or like through a screen.
it's like actual augmented reality,
it's like
man.
legit
Yeah.
augmented reality.
I'm not sure how it all works.
I say yes.
Cool.
Okay. All right. Drew has voted. Holograms are augmented reality. Hello, everyone. This is Trends with Benefits. This is our weekly Roundtable Tech podcast here from Digital Trends, and we're here live right now through it all. And thank you for joining us wherever you are. We do appreciate it. We do broadcast live every week, and of course, we're a podcast, so hit subscribe to that. And each week we have a different topic. And today we're talking about augmented reality, which I think we could all use a dose of right now. So thanks for joining us wherever you are. We're going to talk about that today and discuss what that means, where it's at, where the future is, all of those things. But we need to introduce our roundtable cast of characters. I'm Greg Nibbler, and to my right,
I am Adrian Warner, a.k.a. Hot Nozzle.
Hot Nozzle.
Yes.
Luke hasn't been on here for a while. He doesn't know what's going on. Of course,
have planned that with him before.
we should have. Yeah.
This way.
Caleb had a really great intro
The-
for you.
Oh, wait. Oh, Caleb wrote up an intro for Luke.
me?
Okay,
Yeah,
well,
for
Introduce
you
myself as
specifically.
Caleb.
the venerable Caleb Dennison is at home, not here with us today. He is not, I won't say he's, well, no, I think he's sick. So he's at home. Not with that.
You
but
need to clarify when you say that now.
Yeah,
You
I
can't
know,
just say,
right?
Oh, they're not here.
they're not here.
feeling
Caleb's
well.
not part of this anymore. No.
Caleb's,
is great. Caleb's staying at home just because out of an abundance of caution. But we have an intro for Luke.
Yeah, well, you should. I feel
Oh.
like you should read it because you have the appropriate
Okay.
announcer voice.
Our next guest puts the AR in arson. It's everyone's favorite virtual forensics investigator, Luke Larson.
Oh my God.
It was
How can
really
I ever live up to that?
Caleb's still coming through there at the end. It is Luke joining us here. And of course, to my left on the end.
I am Drew Prindle, a.k.a. Professor Prindle.
Yes, indeed. So, Professor, what's augmented reality?
Augmented reality is
what we're living in right
it's
now.
reality.
Or that we wish we were living in right now?
Sorry. to cut you
Yeah,
off.
I know. We'll try not to be cynical, but I'm cynical. So let's talk about that, though. Augmented reality, and what that actually is and like the history of it.
So I think in order to like tie this in with our previous episode, augmented reality is distinct from virtual reality in that there are still, you're still seeing reality.
Yeah.
Like actual reality.
Right.
But there's like overlays on it. There's like extra information that you can't see with only your eyes. As opposed to virtual reality where everything that you're seeing is fake. It's all like, animated or whatever. So, yeah. Basically, the easy way to think about it is like Google Glass versus Oculus Rift. For most people, that will
Fair
make
enough.
sense.
Nice.
But the concept of AR goes back pretty far. So the first mention of kind of that idea of like overlaying information onto reality first appeared in 1901. The author L. Frank Baum first mentioned it, these spectacles that overlay info in real life in this book called The Master Key.
It's always funny to me when we do these history segments of how far back people have been thinking
Yeah.
about
Yeah.
this stuff.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, that's, it's fiction writing, but yeah, it's totally true
Yeah.
that like, so many of these crazy futuristic concepts appeared like 100 years ago.
Yeah, science fiction becoming reality.
So we should be reading science fiction now and just speculating on what we're going to be talking about on this podcast 100 years from now.
That's how long we're doing this show.
Yeah. So for a long time, then it took as usual, it took our technology a long time to catch up with our imaginations. Then we get into some of the stuff that we talked about last week with like 1957 was when Morton Heilig did that whole Sensorama VR thing. A little bit later, the first head-mounted display was invented in 1968, and those were kind of the precursors to augmented reality because we kind of had to have virtual reality and develop those foundational technologies before we had
Before you get overlaid onto.
yeah, so it wasn't until, about 1975, sometime between there and 1980s, where the idea of like a heads-up display sort of started to make its way in there. And it was interesting because that actually first popped up in aviation. It was in the military.
Huh.
They were experimenting with, overlaying information on like the pilot's windscreen to help them fly. And that's actually where most of the early augmented reality stuff was happening. It was in military use.
That makes sense. I mean, the military usually is. At the
Yeah,
forefront.
cutting edge. Yeah,
They have a lot of money.
They do.
very true.
I hear.
So it wasn't until about 1980 that we got what most of us now would recognize as an augmented reality headset. This guy, Steve Mann, made this thing called the iTap. You should look it up right now on your computer. It's great. It looks pretty close to like Google
Yeah?
Glass. I was blown away. 1980.
Oh, yeah.
The idea of it was a little thing. You had an eyepiece that went over your eyeball, and it had a camera right next to it that was recording the scene from your eye's perspective or very close to it, and then running it through a little computer and then putting extra information on it and projecting that onto a little mirror thing so that you could see it. Fairly primitive by today's standards, but it still was a head-mounted augmented reality display.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's kind of where things sort of started to take off, but it did take a long time for it to reach the level of quality and usability that we really needed it for it to
Right.
be, actually, augmented reality. So it wasn't really until about 2007 that augmented reality was usable by modern standards. And that's because smartphones, that's when it popped up. That's when we had small processors that we could fit into stuff. The computing power necessary to make usable augmented reality was cheap and accessible. And then we started to see those things like, augmented reality smartphone apps. They would use the accelerometers on your phone and global positioning systems to know where they're facing and then give you a window to the world, but with extra information. It just wasn't a headset. So that trend continues. 2013, we get Google Glass and glass holes.
Yes.
Used to wear them, or explorers, as they would like to.
Oh, explorers is even
Explorers.
creepier.
Oh,
That's a
yes,
creepy
that's
term.
so
dude.
bad.
I'm
But
an
yeah, that was
explorer.
the modern interpretation. That was what we had been working toward this whole time. Was
Right.
Like a little bit of information right in front of your eye. You can record everything. It's just this futuristic looking, kind of douchey looking headset. It's perfect.
Perfection.
And that kicked off a lot of more development and competition. So a couple years later, we got Microsoft HoloLens, which was a way bigger, chunkier, but also burlier version of AR that you could move around and the visuals would change with your eyes and everything and it could stick something on the wall, and regardless of where you moved your head in the room,
Right.
that augmented image would only be there if you were looking at it. So that's how far we've come in a little over a century.
And it is interesting, bringing up the Google Glass thing. I feel like that was almost a setback for a lot of people because once they realized, the camera aspect of it, I think is what really creeps people out.
Yeah, it was I feel like the privacy stuff was happening right when that came out, and then it was just a horrible. The timing was horrible.
The timing was horrible.
And
It's interesting though because that was kind of the dark ages for AR, the same way that the 1990s were the dark ages for VR. It just kind of fizzled out. Nobody was interested in it for a while, and now it's having a bit of a resurgence.
It's having a huge one. Yeah, and I'm taking a look here too, and we're broadcasting on Facebook. I see we've got a lot of people watching on there too. If you do have comments, feel free to comment along with the show and let us know. But going from there, I think there's also some other aspects of augmented reality that people don't even realize they have been using.
Yeah.
And that's with some of the advancements with Google Maps, where holding it up and having those directions. That's technically augmented reality.
You're right, yeah.
Totally.
Yeah, overlaying on the
it's
top
just
of it.
not on your face.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're not
just
wearing
to
it,
your phone.
but yeah, having it on your phone. Because your phone, that does have a lot of stuff because you've got Google Maps, you've got Google Lens. That's augmenting. If you hold it over something.
You got those my favorite thing, the little star map, whatever.
Yeah.
Star chart.
That thing is awesome.
Oh, it's so awesome.
We've talked about this before. This is the most fantastic app. If you guys haven't used it or heard of it, there's a bunch of different ones, but Star Chart is my favorite. It's the one that you can hold your phone up to the night sky and it'll tell you what stars and constellations and planets you're looking at. It's so cool. And it
It's
works,
so cool.
works without a cell signal too. It's just all based on GPS. It's fantastic.
So nerdy and so awesome.
And if you look at the floor, it tells you what is on the other side of the earth.
Whoa. So yeah, looking at things like that, things that are in our pockets, I feel like that's the best way to fully because other things with that going along with apps with augmented reality, you have Snapchat and stuff that you overlay over people.
Yeah, you have Snapchat. I just downloaded Giphy World and was playing around with that, which I'm not very good at yet because it's kind of hard to use. But you just take pictures or videos and then you lay stickers, animated stickers over them. It's fabulous.
See,
It's the way most people are using AR. these
Yeah,
days.
exactly. For fun.
taking a look at the chat, George just said, but the failure of Google Glass were lessons learned that helped improve AR and security in general. And that's true.
I think so. Yeah, that's a very good point. We, from the ashes of Google Glass 1.0, has arisen all of these new age ones, and also now we have Apple AR Kit.
The
They
Apple AR
put
kit.
out software development kits that help people build AR apps and services and stuff. And as a result of all of that development, we're getting actual this new wave of AR.
Right. And then there's the Snap glasses too.
Yeah.
Those things. Remember those?
Those were a flash in the pan, weren't they?
They were, but
I mean, they were just like a
Spectacles?
little marketing little.
No, you can.
thing,
I think you
right?
can still buy them because they did a couple of different versions
Yeah,
of
there's
them.
some
I actually
different
totally
versions.
forgot about those until right now because I did not.
The Snap
spectacles.
Spectacles?
Yeah, the spectacles.
They're on number 3 now?
They're on number 3
Wow.
of those. You can still buy them. They're $200.
Did they still look just as aggressively
maybe
stupid
they're
when
more
they're on your face?
yeah.
They look
They're
Would you
pretty
rather wear
hipster.
spectacles or Google Glass?
Yeah, that's a tough
Yeah,
choice.
Question.
that's fair.
That's a tough choice. Oh, I mean, they got a bunch of models wearing them, but
I think I've
yeah.
got to go with the spectacles, though. I just don't
You'd
want
go
to
with the
be
spectacles?
the new age glass hole. You know, like I'm still afraid of that stigma.
Well, talking about AR, so when there's so many different use cases of it and so many different things that are going forward, like going from what we're talking about with this, the snap spectacles and like Google Maps and Lens and Starry Nights and all that stuff. Then we get into some other things, and that's gaming and entertainment. And I feel like that's going to be a huge boom because, I mean, Pokemon Go.
Yeah.
Pokemon
which
Go is it?
I didn't remember until I was kind of looking it up earlier, but Pokemon Go emerged from a Google Maps experiment. There was
Really?
it was an April Fool's joke where Google Maps would do something, fun and wacky with their Google Maps service every April 1st, and they like put in like a little version of Pokemon, like if you could have Pokemon in your maps, and that people were like, "Oh my God, that would be the best thing ever!"
Whoa.
And so I don't know if you say it, Niantic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who is kind of like the AR game king, I think.
Mhm.
With
Yeah, because
Ingress
of that
and-
hit,
yeah.
because of Pokemon Go.
So they developed Pokemon Go, and the story kind of goes from there. We have Harry Potter World now. Minecraft Earth is out. It launched last year, and so it's kind of exciting because people can like actually go out and experience AR in the world versus like everybody thought that we'd be on headsets now.
Right, that'd
for
be Ready
VR.
Player One.
Yeah, exactly. But like, I don't know. Oh, it's pretty funny though to watch like kids running around, just staring at a
Running into
screen,
things.
running.
Well,
into
yeah, with that, remember they had to have all the warnings because people were
Yes.
walking into traffic and
Yeah.
like.
or using it as they were driving.
Yeah.
Which is cheating. That's
Which
fully
is
cheating.
cheating.
Yeah.
I know. Now it tells you you're going too fast on the train.
How many people in here played Pokemon Go?
I did.
Oh yeah.
I did.
Do you
yeah.
still play?
No.
No,
I played for like a week and then I was like, I'm over it.
That's kind of what I did
Yeah.
too.
I didn't have.
I still see people playing though on the bus
all the
the
time.
time.
I
Always
I
on the
believe
didn't have. I didn't
there's
have
somebody who
unlimited
works
data.
here who still uses it. His initials are DB. I'm pretty sure that he's still on it, but I'll let you figure out who that is.
Dela Benison.
Yes. No. Yes. So, anyway, that one is still out there. So it's still big. Pokemon
It's
Go.
still huge. I mean, they're releasing like new Pokemon all the
Supposedly it's
time.
even gotten better too. Like
Yeah.
I think when we all used it, it was like, it's cool,
was
but like,
fun, yeah.
I've heard it's gotten a lot better.
Taking a look in the chat here, Jack, who we know is still playing. So Jack is
Jack
still in
fan.
there. Oh, Jack. So Jack's still playing. So I mean, it's a huge game. And if you look at Pokemon Go, Minecraft, those are the kinds of things that bring it to the masses, like where people start using it, and they may not even still understand. Oh, apparently a lot of people still play it. I should not have made fun of it.
Well, it's not that it's funny. I just I think it was a flash in the pan
No, that's on
first,
me.
and then people stuck with it. I didn't have unlimited data at the time when I downloaded it.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
but I was in Chicago, and it was really cool to like
Yeah.
explore Chicago
Right.
through the lens of Pokemon Go.
And that's a great use case for it. I mean, looking at it, from gaming and seeing more happen with that, you also have the entertainment side because we interviewed Steve Aoki like a couple of months ago, and I bring that up just because he's trying to incorporate more VR and AR into like entertainment scenarios.
What
So
does he try? This dude throws cakes and donuts at the
Yeah.
audience. Is he just gonna is it an augmented experience where you can get hit with an augmented cake in the face?
I can
or
see
like-
that probably being a thing. Like everybody gets a cake thrown at them at the same
Oh my
time.
God.
Well, he was talking about from like a concert perspective, you could have that on and then overlay like
like visuals,
dragons and all
laser
this
lights.
stuff. Yeah,
That would be sweet.
basically an acid trip that's overlaid on top of the.
I mean,
the show.
like, wouldn't you want to? Aren't the people who are going to his shows probably on acid?
Well, I mean,
Everyone who goes to a show is on acid.
Luke's
Actually,
offended by that.
This video is really cool looking. I'm not gonna lie.
Is this his thing?
Whoa.
Yeah, so it's stuff like
Wow.
that to
Me into
where
that.
that's what's going to be changing up his tours. That's a whole tour that he's doing.
Noise.
I think you'd have to have a certain environment for this to work. You
Yeah.
don't want to go to a normal show. I've been to a normal show before that. Everybody pull out their phone and download this app, and then you can hold it up, and it's just like nobody's here to do this.
Yeah.
That's not why we came to the show. But if it's like a thing you know about it ahead of time, and it's like maybe it's a sit back kind of like
I don't think anybody's sitting
old school
at Steve
laser
Aoki's
show.
shows. But yeah, something like that where it's just like overlaid, and then you can see different things that all correspond with the music that he programs. So that's just I could see more concerts and things like
I
that.
could see that being fun for a second, but it almost feels like 3D movies. You're just like, it's a gimmick. I don't really
It's not gonna
care.
last.
But I mean, like, that was why I asked about holograms at the beginning, because, like, holographic performers, I don't know. I haven't seen that take off, really.
No, because
but
it's always creepy.
Just wait until we're all quarantined, and that's the only way. That
exactly. That's
This
the only
is-
way it
see?
works. Or, like, I mean, there's like a pop star that's, like, entirely digital.
Oh,
Whitney Houston.
Yeah, in
No,
Japan.
yeah, Whitney Houston was what I was thinking of.
Yeah,
Oh,
Whitney
Whitney
Houston's on
Houston.
Yeah,
Or-
she's going on tour right now.
Crazy.
Yeah, as a hologram. It's real creepy. It's really unnerving.
Well, who was the first one? It was
Tupac.
Tupac.
right?
Yeah,
But then
Tupac.
Michael Jackson.
Oh,
Yeah, and they did Roy Orbison of all people and Elvis Presley too, I believe. They've done all of them as holograms.
Wow.
Yeah, I don't know. Get them all
Did
together
anybody
when
show
Monster
up?
Tour. I don't know, man. It's a special kind of person. No, I'm just gonna offend everybody. So anyway, the entertainment side of
Pokemon
things.
Go, stupid. Minecraft, stupid.
It's awesome. Whatever you're into, just be happy. But yeah, just looking at that, I think that more entertainers are going to start doing that, and that's part of it's going to have to be with like the advent of 5G, because that's the only way you can power something like that. Because that's going to be changing up a lot of things. Like, and we can get into 5G here in a minute, but from the entertainment side, going to that educational side, that kind of like you going around Chicago playing Pokemon.
Pokemon and learning, where things are and looking at landmarks. And I mean, the cool thing about Pokemon Go is that it actually tells you information about those landmarks as well. If I remember.
Oh,
correctly.
yeah, it does.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's like, this is a historic building. This
Yeah.
is the name of this historic building.
Yeah, there was apparently one right across the street from my house, and I didn't realize it was just like some historical marker. So all day long, I'd have these nerds all gathered outside, my house, and then I go over there and get it every single day. So I was going over there too. So I'm not going to say that.
One
You can do
of
it once a
us.
day.
One of us.
So going from there though, talking about the education side, and that is something that is pretty huge right now. And even talking about the HoloLens and the way that is being utilized or was going to be utilized for training. Because that's kind of what that's gone. It's gone more on the commercial end of things, like enterprise.
Well, yeah, because it was too expensive to sell to individual consumers, which
Yep.
is
Extremely
like,
It's
expensive.
like
Yeah.
$3,000 or something. Now, Luke, have you tried the HoloLens?
I have not. But I've tried a few different AR headsets that were kind of similar to that.
Uh-huh.
Most of them gave me a headache immediately because it's just a weird. And the ones that they have now, I haven't used the HoloLens, so I shouldn't say, but they have a pretty small field of view. So like when you look, I'm used to more like a VR experience, where it's just like a little more. You can see everything, but
Yeah.
this is really just like it's like you're looking through a little window, and then that's where you can see.
that's
things.
the only
like
place you
Mhm.
can
like
see
a
it.
camera viewfinder.
Yeah. So it's got a long way to go, I think.
Yeah.
before it feels really like like a science fiction, like
Something
it's
you could
kinda like
actually
a-
use.
Yeah, and blends in with the environment really
I think
well.
that's just the thing is like it's really hard to do like consumer AR that everybody's going to get behind, especially like the wearable glasses that are like, that live up to the science fiction expectations that we all have. Because I mean, didn't Intel try it at one point?
Oh,
And they're
yeah.
like, never mind, it's too hard.
Yeah, there's been a lot of different attempts, and yeah, I don't think it's I don't think it's gonna happen, for a while. Like I think there's gonna be a lot of attempts, but I think it'll be a long time before we just get like, oh, it's a smartphone for your face. Like that's just not
Yeah.
gonna be
Al-
the thing that happens.
Although right now, with everything going on, with all events being canceled, I mean, everywhere, just to bring that back in, I mean, that could be a reason that this kind of technology goes.
Wouldn't you
gets
want
bigger.
virtual reality for that? Like where you're like fully transported to a place that you're not at?
Yeah, away from your house where you're
Yeah, I
quarantined.
don't want to just be looking at my dying plants in the corner and just like, oh, with like a Google logo over.
But you're home to take care of them.
What if it's telling you water this right now?
With a sad face. Whoa.
Well, one thing they did do with the HoloLens, I remember when it first came out, and that was why everybody got excited about it, was they demonstrated watching like a game at home, and they showcased it was like the Seahawks, but you would watch it on a big table, and you could see the actual movements, almost like a hologram, like a holographic team moving around, and then you can click on one, and like all their stats come up, and it's a life-size Russell Wilson next to you, and all that stuff.
Nerd.
I mean, that I feel like, yeah, that's a hard pass. Probably a lot of hard
Is
passes.
that? But
Who's
is
the
that-
nerd now, Greg?
Is that better than just watching a game on TV? Is the thing like?
Better though, Drew. It's Russell Wilson in your living room. Yeah, I can see what you mean by that. Yeah, it's probably not, but that's some different things. Now, the educational side, going back to that again. Sorry, I got sidetracked by Russell Wilson.
Say his name 3 times. They'll appear. Like
That's true. It's like Candyman, though. I got to do 5. So the education side, that's something that's huge, just for schools and also for like tours, and to have that kind of thing where you can actually walk around, have information pop up. I like that use of AR. I'd like even for like museum tours or something like that. I think would be
Like on your
be pretty
phone,
great.
or would you?
I would probably wear the glasses for like a tour.
Yeah, you
like
can
some,
take 'em off.
Yeah, something that you actually use in that case.
I wouldn't be surprised if that starts popping up more. They already got the little earphones that you put on, and
Yeah.
wherever you go, it's a guided tour. It's
Yeah.
audio that's synced to wherever you are.
Mm-hmm.
They'd probably easily pivot that to
Yeah,
eyeballs and do
totally. Like you're looking at a mummy, and all of a sudden a caricature of the person pops
Yeah,
up.
once what the tourism industry should be doing right now until they bounce back is working on this technology.
Yeah, have it ready to go by the time it comes out.
Yeah.
Makes a lot more sense than like VR for that, because
Yes.
I remember for a while museums were really getting into like, oh, we're gonna have VR headsets in our museums, and you can. But then you're like, why did I didn't come to this museum to put it?
To sit.
Yeah, I could have done this at home. You know?
done this on a Google Cardboard. Idiot. Why,
Right.
why do I pay admission fees?
It's like I'm there, man.
I did pay
AR.
$25 with my oldest student ID card.
Another one's being mentioned in the chat, and this is true, is medical. So medical training, that's another one though that's
Yeah.
really
Yeah.
big. Now that's something I can
That's cool.
totally see as a great use, for doctors training and.
But it's also like kind of scary. It's like if you don't actually know like where to clip and clamp and suture, should you be operating like that's? I don't want somebody getting like remote instructions. Just like, it's all gamified. It's like, so here, great job. You've leveled up your stitching.
You've unlocked and tested. It's
Yeah,
like-
that's kind of
There's someone
terrifying.
who has no idea what they're actually
Or like
doing.
you have to like button mash to like open somebody's ribs far enough.
That's terrifying. but also-
Okay, that is horrifying. Yes.
Can you imagine just going to your day job as a surgeon, but you have no
Like no training at all. It's just all a video game.
on the headset? Yeah,
Oh man, you know what? That's not that far from
that's
the
a
truth.
Black Mirror episode if I've ever come up with one.
Do-do-do-do-do. All right, there's that aspect. There is actual training that can happen with that. But yeah, and some of the other ones, the use cases like that a lot of times they show are like in shops or like doing mechanical jobs or even at home. Like that's something that I could use is at home.
Dude,
like I look at YouTube videos because I'm terrible with cars, and yeah, so I have to look at everything on YouTube
Yeah.
or call my friends.
Yeah, exactly, dude. That would be the killer app for AR. It's
Yeah.
just
Yeah,
like,
that would be
do your own
awesome.
car repairs.
Yep.
Like, there's a gasket in there that you need to replace.
Yeah.
Grab this wrench.
Not that one, idiot. This
Yeah,
one.
exactly.
Yeah.
Oh God, I would dish out big bucks specifically for that.
Yeah, and that's or like wiring. Like I hate doing any
Well,
kind
that's
of wiring.
scary stuff.
It's
yeah.
super scary.
oh, like
and
anything home, like
yeah, home repairs.
Yeah,
Yeah, and having something walk you through it.
IKEA,
Oh, they would kill.
they
yeah,
would kill.
yeah.
just be drawings though. Nobody would no instructions.
Even the AR is somehow really weird. Yeah, it's
Or
only in
mushroom.
Swedish. They refuse to do any other language.
Have a meatball.
Time for a break.
Sorry.
So yeah, the different things like that. But I think really it's going to come down to what's going to advance all this stuff is 5G. Like that's what's got to do it because there's so much information that's got to happen.
Are you sure? I mean, I feel like also just like processors themselves are getting smaller and better and
That's
faster.
true.
And as we're refining like the software required to run these AR simulations, is it necessary that we beam all that information to some big,
have the processing
supercomputer to
offsite?
process it and then send it back? I think we can probably do it all locally and it'll be better.
So you think but what about just the programs and getting everything on there? I mean, I guess the processing power is going to be fast, but maybe it's in conjunction.
I don't know. I just don't necessarily think.
You think it can all be contained on one device?
Yeah, I think that's going to be the way to go.
Let's ask a
Okay.
computer expert.
Yeah, we
Yes.
do have a
Luke.
computer expert here.
Yeah. You know anything about computers?
Edge or cloud?
Edge or cloud. It's the worst thing, the worst debate you could ever have. I did talk to HTC earlier this year about some of the new stuff they're doing, and they have like VR headsets, obviously, but they're also interested in AR. And everybody's talking about 5G from in a stupid way in some ways, but this was like, they were like, it is impossible to have the amount of processing capacity you need on an actual
A wearable
like a
headset.
wearable
Yeah,
headset.
Yeah, and so like in doing it through 5G is really the only option. And before you just really couldn't because there's just so much data that needs to be processed that quickly with absolutely no lag at all.
Yeah.
Like the way they were talking about it was like it unlocks something that was completely impossible before.
Okay.
So, I mean, maybe they just really want to talk about 5G, but that's how everybody's talking about it.
All
And
right.
they had some things where they had like a 5G whatchamacallit? The
Cell phone tower.
yeah, they had it at an event.
Again, computers.
Not a cell phone tower, yeah. I don't know. What are they called?
Yeah.
Modules? No. What are they called?
Transponder. No, I'm screwing it up too. You guys are really throwing us.
A tower.
Transfer
thing.
benefits.
Yeah.
They had one at an event and they were doing it live, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
But they were like literally right underneath it, and they were doing none of the processing
Transmitter.
in
That
the
would probably be the
headset
right word.
itself. So
Yeah. So
it's pretty cool.
yeah, and you're right because you would have to have such a small. You wouldn't be able to store anything on that. Really.
Yeah, and the idea with AR is like you're walking around everywhere, so it does require 5G to be everywhere, which I don't know how long that's going to take to happen, but
Right. Yeah, that's going to be a big thing. But I think once that does go through in conjunction with these super fast processors, I think that's the way Drew still says no.
No, I don't know. I don't know much about
Yeah.
these things, but just looking at the general trend of how all of these things are shrinking in your smartphones
Mm-hmm.
and getting faster at the same time. It's the whole like Moore's law thing. You know?
Yeah.
They're just going to get smaller and faster, and eventually, yes, they'll be able to fit into a reasonably sized pair of spectacles
Yeah.
and still do all of the same stuff that they could if they were sending it off remotely.
Well, I think all that stuff is going to start happening faster, at least as far as in locations, just again because of what's happening right now, and everybody's trying to figure out how to work remotely, and you still have to have meetings, and VR and AR I think are going to get a big boost from that, just to have like some kind of in-person meeting.
Facebook's
Ish.
finally going to get there. Like, yes, people will actually want to do this. They're going to like VR space and collaborate in VR.
What's the name?
No.
Facebook Horizons? Is that
Yeah,
what it was
that's what it is. That's what it's
Oh
called.
yeah, that horrible world without pain.
I don't know. Maybe it is. Maybe it's their time. Maybe that's what we're going for. Yeah. But yeah, going from there, just seeing where it's going to happen. It's not going to go away. I think this is just going to be more and more incorporated in, but probably just with our phones at first.
I mean, I like the idea of doing like meetings and other like interactions in VR more than just like video chat or text or email, because you're getting like presumably you're getting more of like the body language
Yeah.
and like emotion in there, which is a lot more of communication than we give it credit for.
Right.
So I feel like that would help with like, you know, just being clear in your communication and avoiding misunderstandings. But I also think that it's highly unlikely that we're going to start doing meetings via VR, because everybody
too
already,
expensive.
everybody already does video conferencing.
Yeah.
That is such a dominant thing that I think there's not
Nobody's gonna
enough
wanna
of
do
a use case there.
Yeah.
There's
The
not enough of
benefits
it.
don't outweigh the
Yeah.
investment and just the
Exactly.
pain of like, okay, I got to put this on my
Especially if you're
face.
sharing it with other people.
Oh, yeah, it's disgusting.
That's true too. Yeah. Nobody wants to share anything right now. I didn't think
Especially
about that
something that goes on your face.
Exactly. On your eyes.
part. Fine. Well, we'll have to see where it all goes, but I mean, it's definitely interesting to see what's going to happen with it, and we are going to get more and more of it. And I don't
Question: Are you more excited for VR or AR?
AR.
Yeah.
Yeah, augmented reality. I'm way more excited about that.
Why is that?
Just because of the fact, well, doing nerd stuff, walking around and having like information pop up. You know, I like walking through a city and be like, oh, this building was established in 1842 and this person did this, like that kind of stuff. Where I'm just walking around and see it. I love that.
All
I
right.
love that idea. Like that's what I would want to do.
What's that-
Pokemon Go. That's nerdy. Not what I.
What's that guy's name again?
Which one? Go.
NFL player.
Oh yeah, DB. He's never gonna film me again. So anyway, that's. What about you? What?
I think
AR,
I'm with
VR?
you on the AR.
Yeah.
But it's more for like practical things than.
Yeah.
I think it would just be so nice to have like, you know, inline turn by turn directions and stuff like that.
Right.
Driving, yeah.
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 Adrian.
Yeah, definitely AR because VR makes me sick. So.
Oh yeah, that's true.
But
VR sickness is not fun either.
it is not. I
No.
can't. I was saying to Greg this morning that like I can't even watch somebody playing VR, like a stream of it.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Like if somebody streams their VR experience, I can't watch that either. It makes me nauseous. But AR is just like so much cooler. Like I want to use it like with cooking. If I don't have to like open my phone for like a
Yeah.
recipe and stuff like that, how cool would that be?
Just hands-free everything.
Hands-free
yeah.
everything. That'd
Yeah.
be so badass.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's.
I'm with you.
Yeah.
There's more potential there, I think.
Luke?
I just think I think it's a long ways out. But
Yeah.
I think there is
Yeah.
more potential there. As long as I can turn it off at any point, and it's not like something I can
Embedded
never-
in your
yeah.
face.
Yeah, embedded
I'm not gonna
contact
get
lens.
a chip put in my brain, or I wouldn't want to put contact lenses on. I don't know.
You don't have to go full Black Mirror.
Yeah. But why not? All right. Well, that's what we have. And again, this show is broadcasting every single weekday, and we'll be back next week with another podcast. So I thank everybody for tuning in. So hit subscribe wherever you get podcasts to make sure you get the notifications when a new one goes up. We've got lots of back episodes. So last week we talked all about VR. This week's AR. Next week you'll have to tune in to find out. So hit the subscribe button, and we'll be back next week with another episode.